Cheryl, it seems like the other special ed folks are having trouble getting in.
I'm working on it.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Right.
Dr.
Good
Park,
evening.
just so you know, sorry, Rooksy Rune is actually Yusra Ali.
Oh, okay, great. Let me
Yeah.
promote.
And board and Vice Chair Bondo was also in the attendees.
Yes, I promoted her.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much. And yep, got it. Perfect. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Um, I understand for this session, we have Vice Chair Bondo who will be facilitating our meeting this evening.
Yes, I will go and do it. I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So whenever you are ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
All
Can
right.
you? Good evening to everyone. You ready? Perfect. So this is the curriculum and curriculum committee. We are meeting today, Monday, the 13th and 7:36. So before we start, I just want to see if anyone on the public would like to make a comment. If you want to speak, you can go and put your hands up on the Zoom so we can let you talk. I see we have one person.
Okay, and I'll move them over.
Okay, so I will have to go through the process of the meetings before the public's meeting before that. So I'm just going to
Okay.
go and read on the language here. Okay, so that's a reminder for public comment. So member of the public may speak on any subject directly related to the operations of the school, except for personal matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which should be addressed through established policies and procedure. If any items in the agenda, please use the public comment time associated with the item. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes or 6 minutes for individuals using an interpreter to make their comments. Individuals may not relinquish a portion of the allotted time to another speaker. The board may not respond to comment, and please refrain from responding in the audience. Speakers may refrain from engaging in disruptive conduct, including but not limited to using vulgar or obscene language, threatening others using words or by any other actions, using pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or a group on the basis of their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor, making the defamatory comments, exceeding the allotted time limits, talking over or interrupting order, offering repetitive comments, and offering comments or matter related to the school district's program, policy, or operations. I will stop any public comment that is contrary to these rules. Okay, so go ahead. We can go ahead and
Thank you. I saw Claudia had her hand up for a public comment, so I'm going to admit her now.
okay.
Claudia? Claudia, you could come off mute for your public comment.
Yes, hi. I think I lost the connection. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay. Okay, so good evening. I'm Claudia Mejia. I'm one of the teachers for the immersion program. And I know tonight you may talk about what was the findings from the organization you used to understand about our multilingual learners and about the immersion program. So I just want to thank for the opportunity to let me speak tonight. And I'm here because I want to share my perspective on the Spanish immersion program, its value, its impact, and its potential for the future of our district. The Spanish immersion program has consistently demonstrated a strong demand since its inception. Families continue to seek out this opportunity for the children because they recognize the academic, cultural, and cognitive advantages for the bilingual education. It is important to note that the Spanish home language representation within the program remains limited still. And as we know, only 6 students in K-5 are speakers of the Spanish language. So this presents both a challenge and an opportunity. So most for me is like just to give a vision of if we see expanding towards a truly bilingual or dual language school model, we must consider how to intentionally integrate and attract a more linguistically diverse population. A thriving bilingual program should reflect and serve both native speakers and as second language learners, creating a richer and more authentic linguistic environment for all students. And the research supports what many of us have witnessed firsthand, that students who participate in Spanish immersion programs of any other languages are performing at or above state academic expectations. So as a native speaker, I share this perspective not only as an observer, but as someone who understands the cultural and linguistic significance of this work. I respectfully urge the board to consider how we can continue to grow and strengthen this program, ensuring equitable access, expanding diversity within enrollment, and addressing structural inconsistencies that may limit multilingual learners' access for, a high quality instruction. So I'm here to speak on behalf because I think our program is very important for the community. And if we're going to move forward to expand this into a more accessible education program, we need to consider many aspects. The Spanish immersion program and any other language offer is more than an academic pedagogical practice, but it's also a pathway to equity and bridge between cultures and an investment in the future for our students and community. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Claudia, for your comments. Anyone else? Checking.
I don't see any other hands raised for public comment at this time.
Okay, perfect. So I will go ahead and close our public comments. And then going back to the committee. So just passing over to you, Dr. Proctor, for the agenda. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Bondo. And we're pleased to have so many of our staff members here this evening. We are going to talk about a couple of topics, which include special education, multilingual programming, and I am pulling up the slides at this time. And so with our staff on the line, I will ask staff members as we go into the presentation and as you come up to share your portion of the presentation, please do an introduction. And so we're going to talk about multilingual our strategic plan 2.6. I think we'll touch a little bit on the LOUD plan and also special education as you see these as the agenda items. And so I'm going to turn it over at this time to Teresa Lee and Carlos, who will take us through the multilingual update for 2.6.
Hello, I'm Teresa Lee. I'm the Director of Secondary ESOL Programming.
Good evening, everyone. Carlos Gomez, Director of Elementary ESOL Programming, and Teresa and I are going to share with you an update on our initiative 2.6, which calls for the development of the capacity of our schools to more effectively teach our multilingual learners. And you see the description of this initiative here. We contracted with the Center for Applied Linguistics to help identify our strengths, challenges, and make recommendations to our ESOL and immersion programs. So on the next slide, you'll see what we'll share with you today, which is a brief overview of the methodology and research questions, as well as the findings, recommendations, our next steps. And if you could please save any questions and answers to the end, we'll go through our information, then we can refer back to the items that come up. You have two items linked in this slide. One is the PowerPoint, which we're going to go through together, and the draft executive summary, which you could look at on your own. Our final report is under construction and should be ready this month as we move forward. So let's go ahead and click on that. Thank you, Dr. Proctor. And we'll just go right from the slideshow here. Perfect. So this is the Center for Applied Linguistics presentation. Due to some scheduling conflicts, they were unable to give this presentation, so we're sharing their findings on their behalf. So on the next slide, you'll see again the purpose of the evaluation, and this would be a good time to pause for a moment, just recognize the way they went about this. This is an organization that has for over 50 years helped school districts identify some of their programs and make recommendations for their programs. But they earlier in the fall visited 6 schools, 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 2 middle schools, and a high school. And based on their classroom visits, their focus groups with over 100 community members, students, teachers, parents, administrators, and a deeper data analysis, they are creating this report. And our ask of you tonight is to help us review these key findings, take a look at these recommendations, and help us as we implement priorities that will help strengthen our programming for multilingual learners. So I'll hand it off to Teresa to talk about the ESOL portion, and then I'll come back and talk about the Spanish immersion. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Let's take a look at some of the findings and the recommendations. One thing that the Center for Applied Linguistics was able to do is put us in a regional and national context. Portland Public Schools is a little bit unique in that we're a small city. The language profile of our students, we have so many more languages represented in our student body than a lot of school districts in the small city category. So we found the Center for Applied Linguistics compared our results to Framingham, Massachusetts, and St. Cloud, Minnesota. And if you take a look at the comparison here, you'll see that we are fairly in line with achieving English language proficiency. We are exceeding these two communities in having multi-language learners be at or above expectations in ELA. We're comparable in math proficiency. Our graduation rate is right in line. We seem to be excelling in post-secondary enrollment, and we were talking about the free community college that's available and was just made permanent in the budget, that we credit part of our success there along with our staff who work very closely with multilingual learners on their post-secondary plans. As we take a look at the data, it's important to have some context in thinking about English proficiency. So multilingual learners are developing English proficiency while they're learning academic content. And so we can expect that there will be a gap for current multilingual learners in comparison to their English-speaking peers. And the Center for Applied Linguistics reminded us that a very important indicator of our program effectiveness is actually former multilingual learners who have exited our program. On average, MLs exiting spend about 5 years in the program. And their key takeaway is that strong programs show growth over time and that successful transition out of multilingual learner services. Here we can see students' journey through English language proficiency across the grades. You can see that we begin on the left side of the screen with kindergarten all the way to grade 12. That evergreen band at the top is showing students who are exiting, and there's a real sweet spot in grades 4 and 5, and you see that reflected here. There's a little bit of a dip the first year or so of middle school, and then you see in 8th grade through junior year, we have good groups exiting. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. Multilingual learners represent just about a little under 30% of our district enrollment. In 24-25, we had 1,662 ML students participating in access testing. We had 50.4% meet their access growth targets. That's a somewhat intricate formula that's calculated by the state. That 50% achievement is a big part of why we wanted an ESOL program review. We, in 24-25, we had just about 9% of students exit services. That middle column is about state assessments, and we're going to look at that more closely on the next slide. An implication of all of this is that consistent language and literacy supports are critical to improving academic outcomes. On the next slide, we'll take a look at those state assessment, that state assessment data. So, current MLs in ELA, 76% were below expectations, but that is almost entirely reversed for former multilingual learners, who 77% were at or above expectations, even exceeding students who were never MLs, who scored at 62% at or above expectations. In math, we see somewhat of a similar story. So current MLs, 87% were below expectations. Former MLs were 59% were at or above expectations, just slightly under never MLs, who were 62% at or above expectations. And as you know, math is going to be a huge focus of the district next year, particularly at the secondary level. So when we take a look at the key findings, we see both strengths and challenges. They were the CAL observers and participants in the focus groups were effusive about our dedicated educators, strong relationships that they witnessed with multilingual students, hearing from the students and families as well, many examples of inclusive instructional practices, and they really felt as though the schools were demonstrating a commitment to supporting MLs. There were also challenges. They saw a lot of variation in service delivery across schools, limited consistency in scheduling, and especially in collaboration structures. They noted that some secondary multilingual learners, particularly those with limited or interrupted formal schooling, and students who had been in our program over 5 years. And they also saw some inconsistent use of access data to guide instruction. So taking a look at all of that, the data, the focus groups, the observations, conversations with district leaders, they put together for us some short-term priorities and long-term priorities. This is all spelled out in more detail in the executive summary and will be in the full report. But you can see here we have 4 short-term priorities: clarify ESOL instructional roles and service delivery expectations, strengthen the scheduling structure and really support collaboration, improving the use of access and other formative data to guide instructional planning, expanding those literacy supports and language supports for secondary multilingual learners and specialized ML populations. In the long term, we should look at multilingual learner instructional pathways, making them more clear across grade levels, expanding professional learning related to multilingual learner instruction, strengthen collaboration between ESOL, general education, and special education services. And I know that that was a focus of the DMG review last year as well. Improve district-wide progress monitoring systems. Carlos Gomez and I, as the directors of ESOL, are going to be working very closely with a lot of different people in bringing these recommendations to life. So we'll be working with the Lao Plan Advisory Committee, network teams, ESOL teachers, the data team, HR, and principals. On this slide, you'll see a list of a lot of next steps that we see and are interested in pursuing. In the next few slides, we're going to take a look at 3 of those, and we're going to look at what the recommendation is, the current status, because a lot of this work is in progress. Cal is really pushing us to take it further and into some next steps. So if we can move to the next slide. So one of the short-term recommendations is to define the ESOL teacher role as a collaborative instructional role with clear decision rules. Where are we with that? Well, our status currently is we do have an ESOL teacher role and responsibility document. We do have parameters for a master schedule for general education and ESOL and special education collaboration K-8. We're working with our next step will be to work even more deeply with the elementary and secondary network teams using ESOL and special education guidance on collaboration. We'll be working on more specific guidance to principals on building collaboration into the master scheduling for 26, 27, and beyond. The second short-term recommendation that we wanted to highlight here is increasing access to grade level and credit-bearing courses taught by certified ELA and math teachers with the ESOL 660 endorsement. Where are we with that? Well, the status right now is that the secondary network team has been working with middle schools to implement multilingual scaffolds in ELELA. We've been doing that in collaboration with our elementary colleagues, and walkthroughs and administrator and teacher reports show that we've made a lot of progress in putting those scaffolds into instruction. In math, the math redesign team has been piloting high quality instructional materials this school year with a focus on supports for MLs. That implementation is coming up in 26-27. Our next step is to develop exemplar lessons and tools for embedding WIDA-aligned instruction into core content areas, and to ensure that math is taught by teachers with math certification. That was called out in the report. And the third one we wanted to highlight today is the recommendation to implement a coherent IELD SLIFE model. IELD newcomers, SLIFE students with limited or interrupted formal schooling. They called on us to implement a more consistent district-wide approach to supporting secondary multilingual learners in developing foundational literacy. Where are we with that? Well, we have foundational literacy and literacy intervention programming in secondary schools. Those programs and structures vary a lot by school. The next step is to develop and acquire literacy diagnostics and curriculum with demonstrated evidence of effectiveness, and to really lean into progress monitoring of those foundational literacy skills in addition to access.
Thank you, Teresa. I'll just take the last few slides here to report out on our Spanish immersion findings and recommendations. So in a similar format to what you just saw, on the next slide, we have identified strengths and challenges. So Dr. Proctor, if you could move to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. So similarly, I think our Center for Applied Linguistic visitors saw a lot of strengths in our Spanish immersion programming, including very strong academic performance among our immersion students, a very committed group of educators in our Spanish immersion program, and highly engaged parents who have a real commitment for the program. Some of the challenges that they identified were a little slower development in productive language domains. In other words, students writing and speaking lagged a little bit behind listening and reading, which is common for many immersion programs. They also identified limited access for our multilingual families to immersion programming, and insufficient district-wide programmatic planning and support for the Spanish immersion program. So on the next slide, you'll see kind of just a synopsis. And again, you'll have a deeper dive into this in the executive summary and the full report when it becomes available. But here's just a quick little snapshot of who is currently in our LICEF and Moore Middle School Spanish immersion programming, about 117 students. You'll notice that 84% of our students have identified English as their home language. About 16% of our students speak another language at home. And down at the last section there, the current and former multilingual learners, 4 multilingual learners are in the immersion programming, which is slightly under 3%, which, if you recall, we had about almost 16,000, or sorry, 1,600 multilingual learners in the other grades that we saw. On the next slide, you'll just see a couple of short-term and long-term recommendations. The Center for Applied Linguistics recommends that we have a district-level staff member with expertise in dual language to support programming and instructional practices. If you recall, a few years ago, we did have a half-time world language specialist at the district level. That position was eliminated, and we have not been able to support the program as much as we've had in the past. Expanding instructional practices to support dual language goals is another suggestion and recommendation, and increasing program visibility and opportunities for family engagement. And ultimately, the long-term goal of increasing the number of multilingual learners who are accessing immersion pathways is what they've recommended. So the next slide, in addition to what the Center for Applied Linguistics has found, we've also been looking at research. We also had a district survey, and some of the things that we've learned or that have been reinforced to us is that Spanish immersion has been beneficial to a small group of students, but not multilingual learners over the last few years. There is an interest in Spanish and even French programming. Seems to be mostly concentrated at the Lyseth and Longfellow school communities. That there have been lots of learning opportunities over the last 10 years at Lyseth and more, and some of those learnings can be applied district-wide as we think about dual language immersion. Ultimately, there is a recognition that to have a high-quality program, it does require resources in terms of staffing, recruitment of staff, curriculum, communications, professional development, program evaluation, et cetera. And that really we as a school community, as a school district, as a community, while we have shown inconsistent or minimal support for language immersion programming in the past, that this is something that we need to sort of explore moving forward for to expand to multilingual learners. So potential next steps do include conversations, and actually we'll take a look at these in the last couple of slides here. So maybe if we could move to 2 more slides, and then we'll wrap it up. So in the short term, the recommendation is to strengthen access to and coherence of the immersion programming. Currently, we have worked over the years to try to align our Spanish immersion curricular materials to district-wide curriculum. We've achieved that in CKLA, ELELA, illustrative math to a certain extent. There's more work to be done there. And that there has been minimal communication between our elementary and middle school Spanish immersion programming for some of the reasons that we identified earlier. And then as we move forward, we'll be considering incorporating guidelines for dual language education, which is sort of a specialty from the Center for Applied Linguistics that would help support current students in Spanish immersion, align our Spanish language arts across curriculum and grades, and just like with ESOL, systematically use data to inform at the student grade, school, and program level. And then the last slide here is for the long term, the Center for Applied Linguistics is asking us to consider phasing out the current Spanish immersion program and transitioning to a Spanish-English two-way immersion model. So currently, as we saw, a little bit under 3% of our students, of our 117 students in immersion are multilingual learners. We do have Spanish-speaking and multilingual families. Many of them are concentrated in other school communities, not specifically at Lyseth, although there's a robust and increasing number of multilingual learners at Lyseth. And then as far as our next steps, we will continue as we have in the past. We will accept a kindergarten Spanish immersion classroom for the fall of 2026. That would be fully enrolled, hopefully, with 20 students as a maximum. That we would encourage multilingual learners to join the programming. Barriers that we've identified in the past and that we have to wrestle with as a school board and as a school district have been around transportation and the benefits of dual language education. And then we will take next year to plan for a robust community engagement in establishing dual language immersion for the 27-28 school year. So that is, in a nutshell, the Center for Applied Linguistics programming. Again, this was our opportunity to share with you some of their findings. It goes into much more detail in the executive summary which is linked into the slide deck here and into the report that will become available before or later this month. So we'll leave it there and hand it over back to you, Dr. Proctor, and what next steps here.
Yes, thank you so much. I am switching back over to our main slide deck for this evening. Give me just a moment.
Dr. Proctor, I just have a question.
You'd like to ask questions now? Yes, we could do questions on this portion.
Because the other side is also heavy, so we just don't want to go back and forth. So if we can just finish one if my colleagues have some question or clarification question for the law plan and the Spanish immersion, so we can just talk about it if you don't mind, so we can move to the other
Sounds
one.
great.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna bring it back up. Here we go.
Yes, I think.
Are we seeing it yet? Give me just 30 seconds. Here we go.
We have
Here we go.
Lena and Usirali, so we are open for any.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Lena.
I was just confused about the comparisons to the other districts. I know they have I'm pretty sure they have a larger student body than we do. That was one thing I was confused about. Like, how did these numbers come about? And then my second question is, if there's like a positive increase here, but we are falling behind, not on math, but I think it was reading, you said?
Almost on both, huh? Is the ELA and math.
Yes, math
Yeah.
and yeah, that we are falling behind on that, and that those numbers looked kind of concerning.
Mhm.
Um,
So
mhm.
I want to answer you, but there were quite a few questions there.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So let's
Yes.
start with finding these places for comparison. So they were looking for cities that had a comparable um, number of languages and that were also in the small city category. That's how Portland is categorized. Um, and so that's how those places were chosen.
I would add too that these were specifically school districts that had roughly the same percentage of multilingual learners as Portland did, the same number of overall students, and that have close to the 50 different home languages that we have. So that's why these districts were chosen by the Center for Applied Linguistics.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better about these numbers. And then my second question is, um, if we just go to the slide that talked about math, and I'm just forgetting the other subject. I think it was, yeah, ELA performance. Um, this looks like the former like we were at or above the state expectations. Former ML, that means like former students that are not currently enrolled. Is that what it means?
So those are students that went through our multilingual program and then scored 4.5, the exit score on the access. And so these are students who are coming out of the multilingual program and transitioning out.
And then the current ones is it like at the beginning, like have they just arrived? Does it tell us where they are in their journey of learning English?
In this slide, they're all together. So it's all students who haven't tested out on the access.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm just confused about why like we are below the state expectations and what are the next steps to kind of help students meet um and kind of get out of the excess test earlier because I remember it has its own, social t and I don't know, like kind of like embarrassing and all of that. So I just want to know like what are the goals moving forward to make sure that at least we don't have 76 who are not still below the state expectations and somewhere, I don't know, like 50.
So in ELA, uh, it's a little bit of a special, well, this happens in math as well, but especially in ELA, the the cut score for exiting on the access was calculated at a 4.5. And that score is the score at which, if a student exits services, they're they're likely to be at or above expectations once they leave. So one way to think about it, and we definitely want to close the gap, but typically when multilingual learners are meeting expectations in ELA, it's time for them to exit. And so for example, if 100% of current MLs were at or above expectations on the state test, what that would mean is we're keeping kids in the program way beyond when they need to be there. Does that make sense?
No.
I'm going to phone a friend. Carlos, can you say it a different way?
Maybe another way to think about it is the top bar, the current multilingual learners. These are students in those grades that are mentioned above who are at a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.4 in their English language proficiency according to Access.
Mhm.
So imagine if you were a seventh grader and you went to another country where you're learning the language and you're taking the same uh, assessments that all the students are taking in that language that you're learning. Chances are you're not going to be as proficient or meet the expectations. But as you learn the language and you become a former multilingual learner, the second bar, um, now you're on par in terms of English language proficiency and you are performing at or better than the case in the third or the bottom bar, students that are fluent in the language that our multilingual learners are learning. So this is really this and the next graph are a reminder that the language acquisition journey is really 5 to 7 years because this is showing similar painting a similar picture.
Okay, thank you. I think I will think about my other questions, a different way to state them, and I will raise my hand. Thank you for
I-
um
Thank you. Mhm.
And I would
Thank
encourage you to take a look at the executive summary as well.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Yes, go ahead, Lynn, Maya, please.
Thank you. My questions are about the Spanish immersion program. I'm still relatively new to the board. I'm in my, second year here. I don't have a ton of knowledge of the Spanish immersion program's history, so I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about how many years this program has been running in Portland and why it began and why Spanish. And then I had a very specific question about the very last slide, where there was a list about, or two things mentioned about barriers. One was transportation, and one was the benefits of dual language immersion, but I didn't know how that was a barrier.
Sure, I can speak to that. In a nutshell, the Spanish immersion program is about 10 years old. So the original group of kindergarteners, I believe, are sophomores in high school at this point. So about 10, 11 years ago, the superintendent worked with the administration at LICEF at the time to phase in one grade at a time, Spanish immersion. So to have a group of students who would be learning language as they learn content. And the majority back then and continues to be monolingual English speakers in the program that as they progress through as a cohort with a different teacher for the most part each year, that the students were learning Spanish as they went along. And then as we got into middle school, less of their day is in Spanish, but at least 1/3 of their day is in Spanish, which allows them to maintain the proficiency levels that they have. So there's a history that has sort of developed over time in at both LICEF and at Moore. So be glad to talk to you a little bit more with other details, but that's it in a nutshell. And then as far as the second question around some of the barriers that we were talking about, I think it was in the last slide, Cheryl. There you go. So as far as next steps, so we will, like, as I mentioned, enroll a kindergarten class, and we will encourage multilingual learners to join, understanding and knowing that we have tried to reach out to multilingual families to enroll. But what we hear from various communities is that if they don't live in the LICEF area, that there hasn't been support for transportation to LICEF, where the program is currently housed. And in terms of the benefits of dual language education, we hear from many of our multilingual families that they speak another language already at home, that they want their child to learn English as fast and as thoroughly as possible. And perhaps we need to do a little bit more awareness around the benefits of dual language education, how one of the main goals is biliteracy in English as well as the target language. So that's what we meant by barriers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I have one or two questions and some comments. Can we go to the slide? Just want to emphasize what Usra just asked about the slide on the ELA and math. So I'm just curious about the 7 is our currency. Okay, so I just try to look at the way I heard Teresa explaining that it's taking like 5 years for most of those students to exit and to becoming more efficient to the language. So I'm just wonder about the 76. So this is a combination of all the grades, right? So we don't know exactly how many are on those each grade. So I try to see if we have to wait about, if they have to go through all the 5 years process, maybe more than that. So how we do with the student who have to go beyond that? I mean, they have to graduate and then they still don't get it. They still don't get enough score to exceed. So what we do with them? Because I feel like it's a lot of them we can talk here because we just see the 76% is just a general aspect of our students, but is not reflecting exactly of each categories what we have. And also when I look at the spring 2025, those are the one like last year. So they didn't have any data, so they can reflect on a couple years before that, so we can see the trend. Are we moving with the former MLs and the one in current? So I don't know if my questions are making sense to both of you, Carlos and Teresa.
Let me just take a take a take an attempt at this. You're right. Our current multilingual learners, that's 76%, that top bar, does include students that have been here for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, potentially more. So there is a lot more information as to who those 76% of our multilingual learners are.
Exactly.
Currently, right? So each school knows who they are. Each ESOL teacher knows who they are. Our network teams kind of we try to break it down and try to look at students who've been with us for 5 or more years of programming, students that have just arrived to us, students that have been taking access for a longer period of time. So there, another way to look at this too is that the 24% there who are currently multilingual learners and are reaching at or above state expectations. They may be long-term multilingual learners themselves that are not testing out of access for various reasons. So they may be meeting the standard as well. So that top bar is something that we are kind of looking at closely. We'll have an access data retreat in mid-May to explore these numbers a little bit deeper. I think what the Center for Applied Linguistics really kind of has emphasized for us is that an important indicator of our program's effectiveness is for the students that have gone through multilingual and ESOL services, when they exit, how are they doing? And that's where that middle bar is showing that they're actually, in a lot of ways, on par or exceeding in some cases.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I will wait after May because I'm really interested that because it's something is been close to me, the law plan, because I was one of the member who really push on that and vote with my former colleagues a couple of years ago to bring the resolution with the law plan to make sure, even though it's a right for our students. So my recommendation is that, my comment is this, is that I look at the slide 10 when we look at everything, we have dedicated, strong staff, everything, but we still have challenges. So I'm still wondering about many years since we've been talking about the law plan, what really then we are not doing right for those students, because it's so painful to see that we may fail to many students and they already graduated without having any great acquisition to the languages. And I'm just hoping then those recommendations here, we can move at least the needle, because I see then some of the students who've been exceeding, I see them, the percentage is still a little sometimes I'm missing words to say because I'm still too much emotion to see the way we've been moving really slow with those students who are really in need to have those language to really achieving academically, because our achievement gap is still high, really wide and wide, and this is one of the most important investment that we have to keep doing. So I'm just hoping then on those recommendations we can really do better, and giving just a chance to those students who really deserve to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I saw you, Sarah. I just want to make a comment with the dual language with the Spanish immersion. I really like the two ways, because as a bilingual myself, and when I see now happening to the community that I belong to, they start losing the home language, because parents, they just want to learn English, and they're using most of the kids as a teachers. So I think if we're doing that one as a dual, it's going to be on both ways. I mean, the mainstream student, they're gonna be partner with the multilingual students, so they can be a role model for the language. And also for the multilingual student, even though they're gaining the English as a second language, but they're still growing to continue the home language. And that's so powerful. As I see, but I was wonder about if we're going to stop right now what we have for the mainstream student and wait until we got the two ways. But I feel like when I heard Carlos, we're going to continue for the pre-K or the kindergarten, I think. And then 2020, 27 to 28, we can now try to move to the two ways immersion, right? I just want to make sure that I get it correctly.
Yes, so next year we'll continue with a full kindergarten class as well as sort of an exploration and design process for transitioning to a dual language program that would start the following year.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And I would just put a plug in. There are a lot of opportunities in to understand a little bit more in the Center for Applied Linguistics report, some more graphs, some more context. This is trying to condense in a very small period of time and in small space, sort of the larger picture. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I'm just hoping, because I've been waiting for years to see the way we've been moving with those students, but we still have a lot of challenges when I see the variation, and also on service delivery is a lot of bias, is a lot of discrimination. We still have a lot of gap. Are we deliver service? Are we supporting those students' need? We still have a lot of work to do on the professional development when we need to make sure that we have teachers who really understand the value. Most of them they do, but just the way we deliver those services is not equitable. So I just want to speak that way.
And
Because
we could also break down that data on the current multilingual students, their proficiency, meeting state expectations or above, and also those who are below. We could break down that data by grade and then also by ESOL classification, right? Whether or not they are level one, level two, level three, or four.
yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Dr. Proto. Yes, Usira. Yes, Ali. Go ahead,
Thank
Usira.
you. Thank you for that last part. Also, would it be possible to indicate students that took it like more than 2 times or something like that, or would that be something that's achievable?
Yeah, I think if the student is, we could do multi-year if it's
Uh-huh.
possible to look at the data that way. That way you'll see as students are progressing through their levels, you may be able to see some representation, but we'll talk to
Mhm.
our data team to confirm what's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So my other question is when we go to status recommendation and next steps, um, I can wait for you until you get there. I think it's slide 13.
Okay. On the EL side or
Yes, EL
Spanish
side.
major? Okay, great here. Slide 13. Here we go.
Thank you. I'm curious to understand what it means to be a collaborative ESOL teacher. What is that going to look like, and what does it look like currently? And also just on this, oh, I can wait while you answer that.
So teaching is really a team sport. And so to get students where they need to be, collaboration is a huge issue for all students, but especially for multilingual learners. And so in the Cal report, they are recommending that ESOL teachers work even more closely with both content level teachers and special education teachers to instruct and plan and program for students in a way that will get them where we want them to be quicker. And as I mentioned before, especially this collaboration that's required for students who are dually identified, who both have an IEP and are multilingual learners. That's something that was also mentioned in the DMG report last year when they did a similar audit of our special education services.
Thank you for that because when I see recommendation, I'm thinking, is this something that's not being done right now? And if it's being done, to what degree? And was there any kind of scoring rubric they used of where we land? Like,
Mm.
since they recommended it, I'm guessing it's not satisfactory. So I'm just trying to understand that part. Like, why was it recommended if we're already doing it? And does it just mean do it better, or is there something new that has to happen?
I would say that these recommendations really kind of build on our strength.
Okay.
There are very few things in here that we're seeing that uh, we are not doing. There are certainly things that we could do better, like any learning organization can do. So, um, and just a reminder that collaboration, co-teaching is one of the best ways of professional development. So when an English language teacher partners with a content or grade level teacher, they're both growing in their understanding of the curriculum of students, of instructional moves, of assessment, etc. And that's something that they can apply to their practice as they go and continue other teaching assignments. And also, I think we this year, and I think for next year, we'll continue to demonstrate some more collaboration in our professional development, where our instructional coaches and our ESOL teachers are working together to deliver professional development and curriculum and yeah, professional development for our teachers.
Okay. Just for time's sake, I think thank you so much for all your work. I will be just reaching out to you guys, but thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, Dr. Proctor, I think we can move on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gomez. Thank you, Teresa.
At this time, we're going to go into our special education update. So I'll ask Jesse Applegate to uh, take this slide, and as our team members chime in, we will also ask them to do introductions. And then the last part of the evening is to do a quick update on our grading task force. Jesse?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Proctor. It's great to be with everybody this evening. My name is Jesse Applegate. I'm the Senior Director for Special Education and Student Support. And myself and the team are really glad to be with you tonight to give some more updates on our special ed strategic plan work. So we're going to take you through the different areas of the plan, give some updates on that, and then also I'm going to speak a bit about main care billing as well, as that's been a topic that we wanted to share more information on. Okay, so just to start, to kind of ground us in this initiative. So this is Initiative 2.5. We're developing the capacity of schools to provide more effective instruction to students with disabilities across the continuum of services, utilizing content-specific universal design for learning strategies and practices. And just to kind of really be clear about that, when we say continuum of services, we're talking about the whole range of settings and programs that we offer as part of special ed. And when we talk about universal design for learning, that's a teaching approach that provides multiple means of accessing content so that all learners can do so. Oh.
I'm going to go to the next slide, Jesse, and then I'm going to bring Sarah Warren over but for some reason I have to escape out of my sharing, okay?
Got
So
it. No
I'll let
problem.
you begin and it'll take me 30 seconds. So go ahead.
Okay, can we just go to slide perfect. Thank you. Okay. So the other kind of framing I just want to do for us tonight is this is a 5-year strategic plan initiative. So we're still in the beginning stages of that plan. This is our first year. And so there's certainly, you know, continue to be plenty of room for growth and improvement in our special education work, challenges that we're tackling. Certainly, you'll hear the team speak to that tonight. But at the same time, also want to say that our work so far this year on the plan has really been positive and productive. We feel like we've made meaningful progress, laid some really important foundations, and gotten some early wins on implementation, even as there's more work to do. So you'll hear kind of both sides of that again tonight. And then we're going to, of course, focus, as I said, on the 4 areas within the initiative that we've been talking about this year when we presented. And that's professional development, specialized programming, IEPs and service delivery, and family engagement. And so we'll start with the professional development piece, and I'm going to hand it over to Sarah Rent for that. On the next slide. Sorry.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Sarah Rent. I'm the Director of Special Education for Elementary Programs. So yeah, we have had a chance this year to deliver many different PD sessions on a regular monthly basis that are relevant to our entire staff, which includes special education teachers, related service providers, our social workers and mental health professionals. And this was originally based on extensive staff feedback on what they would want for professional development. So some of the topics have included learning about specially designed instruction and what that means in the special education setting, learning about different kinds of accommodations to support our students best in the inclusive general education setting. We've also spent multiple sessions on looking at our dually identified students and their unique needs as multilingual learners and students with disabilities. We've spent a couple different sessions looking at data and how to write really data-informed, strong IEPs, looking at both our academic goals and our functional goals on IEPs. We have also, which is I think on the next slide, trained many staff on our crisis prevention intervention and safety and de-escalation responses. And then we've also focused in on some of our more common disability related resources related to some of our higher incidence disabilities and train staff on specific strategies related to some of our disabilities such as autism, ADHD, some of our learning disabilities. And then we've spent a fair amount of time training staff on our Acuity system, which is our software program for maintaining accurate IEP records. So we've been surveying staff at all of our PD sessions, and we have met our strategic plan target of 75% of the staff at this time does feel the sessions are relevant or mostly relevant to their work. We do continue to seek feedback, though, to make improvement. And so some of the feedback we've gotten on PD is to continue to differentiate the opportunities. We have a large variety of staff with many different skill levels and also many different roles. So continuing to look at our design next year to differentiate professional development even more and to continue to make it even more actionable or tools that our staff can bring right back to the classroom in their day-to-day work. And as I said before, we've done extensive training on crisis prevention intervention and de-escalation strategies for students. So we are now, since July, when we started this initiative, have trained over 171 staff members. Looking ahead to next year in professional development for the 26-27 school year, we are excited to really dig into our special ed curriculum work. So we will be bringing on a new math program. So we will have extensive training with our new math program in our K-8 resource rooms. We are also going to expand the curriculum use of Character Strong in our special education settings, looking at Character Strong's Tier 2 modules, which have a lot of social and emotional lessons to reach the functional goals of our IEP students. We will also continue to train and support our special ed teachers on taking math and literacy data and really using our robust progress monitoring systems such as MClass and potentially STAR progress monitoring tool for math. And then we will continue with our literacy training, and that our special educators all have an opportunity to be Orton Gillingham trained through the Institute of Multisensory Education to continue to focus on a higher tiered intervention for our students with specific learning disabilities in reading. I'll pass it on to Tisha McCarthy, who's our Director of Specialized Programs.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. As Sarah said, I'm the Director of Specialized Programs. Our specialized program team has been working very hard. We just completed our second set of walkthroughs across the district in all of our specialized program classrooms, K to 12. We did focus specifically on the first round was looking at 7 different categories, but on basic structures and organization. And then in this round that we just completed, we added a focus on our SDI, our specially designed instruction and programming. We were looking for evidence that the specially designed instruction was in place for all students, that we saw differentiated instruction where that was appropriate, that it was aligned to students' individual goals. This is just a look at our data. Just across all our sites. This is actually kind of exciting for us to look at across the sites, just the improvement that we've seen in all of the essential features that we rolled out last summer, and looking at all our individual programs, Beach, FLS, Functional Academics, and Breathe. And you can see that we're hitting our targets in most of the areas. So we're really excited about that. Okay, so for the original 7 categories, you can see what our walkthroughs showed for the fall and then in the spring. We're really happy with the goals that we had. And we were looking for this implementation measure of 70%, and then just seeing the additional growth as time went on. We're exceeding those measures. We still have room for growth. So, one of our main focuses is to ensure that our specially designed instruction is individualized for students, that it's aligned with their individual goals, and that we have trained staff in place to assist and support in all of these programs. And just noting that that has been one of our struggles, is to maintain staff, and that we continue to work on having consistent staff in the programs, and that there's vacancies and the staff absences that we've had to program for as we do this really important work. But overall, we've done a pretty great job of increasing this implementation of these essential features that we rolled out, and the walkthroughs have been a really important part of that. And having another layer with coordinators just for our specialized programs who are able to spend so much more time in the buildings supporting teachers and ed techs and related service providers and making sure that we are reaching these targets and that we're carrying out these things consistently across all programs. So before the end of the year, we're going to do our next round of walkthroughs. We're looking forward to that. We'll add another layer upon, so we'll continue to look at all the 7 categories that we were looking at initially, and the STI, as I said. Some of the things that we're really excited about for this spring and going into the fall is piloting some new curriculums. So we have something called the ACE curriculum. So it's a curriculum that is academic and functional materials for students with autism. So we're going to roll that out. We piloted that in one of our programs this spring, and now our plan is to roll that out in the fall for all of our beach, which are our autism programs. We're also really excited to implement Character Strong Tier 2 and Tier 3 in all of our Breathe programs, K through 12. We're also looking to just continue to expand these opportunities across all of our programs at the different school sites. Something that we started this year that's been really positive is having principal meetings so all programs that have beach in their schools, the principals come together. All programs that have breathe in their schools come together. It's been a really really supportive collaborative process for the principals. We also have made sure to increase the opportunities that we have just cross program, cross schools, cross grade levels. We have had meetings with teachers, ed techs, related service providers for each of our programs. So for Beach, Breathe, FLS, FA, so that everyone comes together more than we've ever been able to do before. And that's been really, really exciting for all of the programs, and the collaboration that is able to take place when we bring all of those people together and have everybody talk, and we have professional development opportunities, and it will actually help us moving into next year too with what we need to see for more professional development in each of the individualized programs.
Great, thanks, Tisha.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to speak a bit about our third area, which is related to IEP services and data. So this year, we've been really focused on creating new data systems to actually be able to monitor IEP compliance in the district. This isn't something we've been able to do before. We have a new position on our team this year. Our program manager, Natalie Scovrin, who's one of her responsibilities is really she manages the acuity program where we actually create the IEPs. So she and others have been focused on building out this data so that we can, for the first time, actually kind of track where we are with meeting sort of key compliance metrics. So when it comes to when we're talking about being in compliance for IEPs, I'm going to skip to the next slide because it's kind of, thank you. There's really 4 questions that we're looking here at. So first is the document, which is called the written notice, which is sort of a summary of the meeting, what was decided, what was discussed. Was that sent home within 10 days of the meeting? The IEP itself, the team has 21 days to complete it and finalize it after the meeting. So did that happen in a timely manner? There's all kinds of different information that's inputted into these IEPs, but the disability category of the student and their least restrictive environment, the percentage of time they're spending in general education, are 2 particularly important ones because we report those to the state as part of our, it's an obligation for us to report. So we particularly honed in on that. And then we also have to make sure that all of the dates put into the IEP are accurate so that we're having meetings and reevaluations and finishing IEPs in the future at the right time. So all the dates have to be accurate as well. And there's, again, there's a ton of information IEPs. These are kind of 4 aspects of that process, though, that we've honed in on. So again, it's been amazing that, we've been able to really, for the first time, look at our compliance in these areas consistently. Because we have that data, we've been able to do a number of things, a monthly data poll that we're sending to coordinators and building leaders on the status of these items. Particularly, we're focusing on IEP, finalizing the IEPs, but on all these areas, and then reviewing that data monthly with the coordinators as well. We've created an automated approach to reminding case managers about the upcoming IEP due dates to support them in on-time completion. And we've also then set up, individual training and co-working sessions with coordinators to work through these items. So there's been quite a bit of support that we've put into place on top of actually pulling this data together. And we can go to the next slide. And I'm going to go through the data that we're seeing so far. And this is where, again, we're seeing that we've made, some progress, but certainly room for growth. Now that we have this foundation of being able to look at the data and report it and share it with teams, we have some next steps to do. But you can see that when it comes to IEPs being completed, we've had a little bit of growth on that, but we're still, around 70%, not where we want to be month to month. Next slide, please. I'm going to just go through this. Written notices, on-time completion of those has kind of fluctuated throughout the year. Again, it's certainly, as we've tracked it, a growth area, getting these done in a timely manner, especially as the year goes on and there's more meetings and things add up. And I'll speak to that more in a little bit. The next slide is going to show us about some of this, the disability category, at least restrictive. We've certainly had some success with this. You can see we've been at 100% in different months on these categories. But, again, theme is still room for growth in this. And then the last piece of data here is on the next slide, please. I'm sorry. Has to do with the dates and having all the dates accurately in the IEP. And that's one, again, some incremental growth over time, but the same piece of we need to continue pushing for more improvement in that. So I share all that to just share on the next slide here, right, that we've laid a good foundation of having this data, of being able to report on it, like I said, but we're seeing that we don't have it where we actually want it to be yet, right? And so we've been talking about and thinking about what are challenges and opportunities around this work going forward, right? So thinking about the challenges, again, the compliance is really carried out. We're supporting it, but it's carried out by the folks in the schools, coordinators and case managers in particular. They face a wide range of competing responsibilities during the school day, to say the least. There's a lot going on. And then, as you hopefully got a sense of as we went through a couple of those categories, IEP process and the paperwork associated with it is quite complex. There's a lot of different pieces. You have different staff members contributing in different ways. And so pulling all that together and really getting it accurate does require focused work time, which can be, hard to come by during a typical school day. And so we are, getting feedback and finding that teams and staff could really use additional support in kind of structuring this work. And so that's really where we get to the opportunities. So one piece is, I think, really continuing to shift our mindset around this to being more about, not just the boxes that we're checking, right, around IEPs and having the right information. That's important, but why are we doing it, right? What's our bigger why? And it's because it's about engaging families in the IEP process, making sure that they have timely information, that they're participating in that process as well by getting that information and being able to interact with the staff around it. So what we'd like to do, going forward, and we will do, is continue getting more consistent about deadlines and reminders and feedback that we're giving to teams as they work through the IEP process. And having that be really, as regular at every school consistently. And then the other piece will be ongoing meetings. We're envisioning, monthly type meeting with each team to go over these items and really, work together on keeping it up to date. So ramping up our support for this as we see that we have room to grow. So the last piece on the compliance I want to mention is specifically around IEP services. That was one of our measures for this year originally, was having IEPs that accurately reflected services. The reason for that was because when DM Group did the survey last year, they found just a huge variation in the way services were described in our IEPs. There were like over 1,500 different types of services listed, and it's because essentially teams or staff could write anything into the IEP. And so the recommendation was to develop a really much tighter list of possible services and implement that. And then we would be able to really kind of compare data across schools, grade spans, looking at service times, types of services. There's all kinds of great important information we could get if we can have that data accurate. So we have created a set of guidelines, and we won't click on it here, but there's a link here. You can see sort of how we have it set up, how we've sort of proposed it now. So there's more like 50 different options, which feels like a lot, but there's a lot you can capture in IEP. And our next step is trying to implement it in such a way that it's actually, rather than being something that's just entered into the IEP, it can be it's selected by staff, right? So like a drop-down type menu. And that step is what's really going to help us clean up this data and have it be accurate. And I don't mean to get too far into the weeds on that, but I think this actually illustrates kind of, is it a good example of the challenges we face with managing this data, right? Is if we can't get it to where it's going to be consistently accurate, we can't support staff in doing that, it's going to be hard to actually work with it. So right now we're working with the Acuity and hopefully figure out a way they can do that, get to those drop-down menus. And if not, we'll also look at how we can kind of do some manual cleaning of it. But that's a data goal that we're going to have to push a little bit because of the challenges we ran into implementing it. So I think that's a good example. Okay, and so that's the compliance piece. I know we're already at 9 o'clock here. I do want to turn it over though to Blake to talk about family engagement work. I think that's if we go back
Yeah,
once.
if you go back to the previous slide.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Blake Castle. I am the Director of Special Education for Secondary Schools. And so, like Jesse mentioned, one of the things that we've been really working on this year is how to facilitate, I just tried to combine two words, but foster and facilitate meaningful engagement with families in the IEP process that is like really authentic and ongoing. One of the things that we've done for that has been a Parent U series of 3 sessions, and these have all been really focused on building parents and families' understanding of the IEP process, the IEP meetings themselves, and our continuum of services across the district and what kids might access. The first one was back in December. We had 32 attendees at East End Community School. It was a really great night and had a lot of really rich conversation. The second session, we did unfortunately have to move to virtual, which is not our preferred method, but because of events in the community and for everyone's safety, we did move to virtual. We had 21 attendees at that, so it was a little less attended. I think given everything that was going on in our city at that time. But that one was really focused on the IEP meeting itself and helping families understand who to expect, what to expect, how to participate, and and how to really serve as the expert on their student at those meetings. And then our third session, which is scheduled for in a few weeks, April 28th at 6 o'clock at King Middle School. Here's a plug. Everybody come. It'll be great. We're going to be really focusing on the special education continuum and what programming looks like across our district. And so families can really understand like the range of services they might expect to discuss or see, and that we could provide for their students. And then another thing that we're really excited to roll out at that Third Parent University is a plan that we've been developing on establishing a parent advisory committee for special education specifically within Portland Public Schools. And so we'll share more information on that at a later time, and communicate with families. But the purpose of the parent committee is to have a consistent body of parents who we are collaborating with, who are able to give input on programmatic decisions, to give input on the family and parent experience in special education in our district, and so that we can really build together systems and programming that supports kids and families in our district. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I was speaking to this a little, I got ahead of myself, but yeah, so it's really an advisory committee for matters that are related to special education. And it's really focusing on making sure that we're inclusive and providing high quality opportunities for all of our students. And really amplifying the voices of students and families from diverse backgrounds. We want to make sure that we're very intentional about recruiting a representative group of parents and families into this group, so that we can understand what the IEP experience and what the special education experience is like for families with a variety of different backgrounds, and make sure that we are equitably serving our families, and not, better serving one population than others. And we also, we see it as an opportunity to collaborate with our families, and make sure that, we all have the intention to create environments where kids are valued and seen and supported and are thriving for exactly who they are. And we want to make sure that we're partnering with families to do this work, so that families are able to be a part of this process. And so this is sort of a shift a little bit, but speaking to students at the resource level or who are not in our specialized programs, we wanted to make sure that we are also focusing on what are our instructional strategies and what are the supports that we have in place for students with mild to moderate disabilities who are supported in all of our schools. And so some of the work that we're doing to really make sure that we are addressing the needs of those students as well is we started off this year by implementing at the elementary level a scheduling software, so that we could study staffing and really understand the level of services that are being provided and when they are being provided during the day, so that we can make sure that we're adequately staffing and supporting our schools. We are also planning for next year to pilot a few different program models at the resource level, so that we can have a more robust continuum of services for students who are not yet at that level where they need one of our specialized programs, but we are able to provide more intensive supports at students' home schools. And we also want to make sure that we are doing all of this work intentionally with an eye for coherence across our system, so that we are aligning our progress monitoring tools, our instructional tools, and our data review practices. And Sarah spoke to this a little bit earlier, but making sure that we're aligning those practices across our system, and so that students are able to generalize skills and really make growth on their individualized goals. And we have the right set of tools and progress monitoring supports for students.
Okay, great. Thank you, Blake. So I will be, I promise, succinct on the main care piece. The premise is really similar to what I spoke about a little while ago on the compliance, which is I just want to, make it clear, the different factors that are involved in this work, and how, kind of a lot of things have to come together for it to happen properly, right? So we currently bill main care for 3 services: speech language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. So of course we only can bill for students who have received those services, but they also must of course have main care. We have to have consent to release information to main care from their family. They have to have an IEP that is finalized and up to date. There's a couple different sort of main care forms that have to be completed by the providers, and then it actually has to be their sessions have to be scheduled and posted in our system. So there's a number of steps, and I'm not going to belabor it, but just to give a sense, roughly half of our students receive at least one of those 3 services. The related services: speech, OT, or PT. You can see the breakdown, here. Obviously, there's kids who receive more than one, but total at least one. Of those 646, about 422 of them currently have a main care ID, meaning probably that they're eligible for main care. So that's the group of students that we can actually successfully bill for. We can go to the next slide here. But then this is where layering on kind of reduces the pool. So of those 422, only 299 have both the main care ID and also parental consent. So, that brings you down to 299 students that we can currently successfully bill for as of when we pulled this data, a week or 2 ago. We can go to the next slide. And then that number is also reduced when you look at how many students, going back to the compliance piece again, currently, as of when we pull the data, have a finalized, updated IEP in place, right? So when you look at, you can almost imagine it like a Venn diagram too, of all the different things that need to be in place. That brings us down to 246 students. And then when we look at the next piece, the majority of students have the main care forms that the providers fill out, currently up to date in place, but not all of them. You can see the percentages here, and then on the next slide, we have posted many sessions, and our therapists are doing a ton of work to get these posted. Get them scheduled. The large majority are posted, but for a variety of reasons, not all of them have been able to be posted yet, and therefore move toward reimbursement. So when you look at all these factors together, it sort of the pool of what we successfully reimburse for does kind of tend to get narrowed down. And so the point of that is that there's a lot of pieces that go into it, and that if we don't have them all in place, we're not able to maximize our billing. And so now that we have this data, right? And again, I'll say, just like with compliance, the fact that we have all the data that I've just briefly shared is a really big shift for us. Being able to look at it is a huge piece of now being able to act on it, right? Now we can provide more robust support to staff again. So we're going to be providing, again, regular monthly data pulls so folks can see what's missing and get that fixed. We'll around the different documentation, the piece on IEPs being finalized, that's part of the compliance that we spoke about. We'll continue to report on that. And then again, we're envisioning regular meetings where we can work with teams directly on these things so that we're able to kind of work through any problems, fix any issues as they come up. So the theme of providing this robust support. And the appendix is some additional slides you might want to look at related to this. But that's everything that we had. So Dr. Proctor, I'll hand it back to you for wrapping up. Or maybe Dr. Warren.
Yep, thank you. I will pause and turn it over to Vice Chair
Yes,
Bando,
thank you, Dr. Yeah,
who will give us some direction. We did have an update on the grading task force, and the slides are there and available, for the committee to review. And I think at this point, I will, again, while I have this up, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Bondo. But I just wanted you all to see where the additional information and the update on the grading task force with 4 slides is available.
Thank you so much, Dr. Proctor. And I feel like we already passed 9, and I just want to make sure then my 2 colleagues, both Maya and both Usura, already they really want to move forward, because I feel like we have a lot to absorb and to manage. Those 2 important topics that we had today, the law plan and the special education. With over 36 slides, then we could go over with question and reflection, and it's already past 9. We already have another meetings and 6. So I'm just wonder if they agree to move the grading to the next meeting. So Dr. Proctor and Chair Upperman, they can and work on that. Okay, I'm listening to you. Go ahead, Maya.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Usira?
Yes, I agree with that as well.
Okay, Dr. Proctor, we're going to adjourn and just stop to end the meeting at 9:15 and later on, so we can move the grading, the other portion, to the next curriculum committee. So we can make sure then we can respect and something I think we can work with the committee to make sure when we have the most important topics, we just limit it to 1, so we have a time to really go over, because the special education is really important. I got questions. Suddenly we could do anything, and I think also my colleagues also, they have a lot of questions. So I'm just going to move that one for the next meeting, and maybe we can start with all our questions to get more clarification on the special education before we move forward. Dr. Proctor, so I think we're just going to pause for today.
So what I'll do is, as we look at planning for next time, I'll bring the questions that you may want to raise for special education. Feel free to perhaps email me or Jesse Applegate or Sarah Warren. We could try to reply, or we could bring it back at the top of next meeting so we could take your questions, and then we'll move right into the grading task force before taking on new topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you to the team, to stay to that late, and then all the presentations, everything. Really appreciate and grateful for what you do for our students. So I just want to make a motion to adjourn the curriculum meetings. Do I have a second? There you go, Maya. Thank you, second. So all are in favor? Okay, so we adjourned the curriculum committee at 9:17. Thank you so much, and all have a good night. Thank you.